Hi, so today I wanted to do a close reading of sorts of Jan Morris's Conundrum, and I'm going to be specifically focusing on chapter 6, which is entitled Zero, in quotes, exclamation mark. This chapter is where the questions of sex and sexuality are answered a little bit more in depthly. It's only a two-page chapter, like two whole pages, physical pages, and in it, we get a lot of complexity um, and an answer, also, I think. It's kind of questioned and answered in the chapter, and I think that's nice. So, the question of the whole chapter, as Morris loves to do, is in the beginning. It's in the first sentence, and it is, "In the meantime, you are doubtless wondering, especially if you are male, what about sex?" So, that's it. That is what this chapter seeks to answer, and what I believe it does. So, it also opens with a little bit of an anecdote, and that anecdote is about this man traveling, asking someone at a bar where he can find women because his score is zero. His exact words are, "My score so far," he said petulantly, "is precisely zero, zero," which almost, of course, commodifies women. Most definitely, it's saying that they are something to gain. They are a score to have. The more you have, the more of a man you are. And in that, there is a lot of the time and also of today, of course. But also, it's saying to be a man, you have to almost have a score. To be a man is to conquest, it is to have women. And I believe that by Morris's, not repulsion, I don't want to use those words because those aren't words that she used, but views on sex, which are highlighted throughout this chapter, it's obvious that she isn't a man. And I think that that is truly the meat of the chapter, truly what we are seeing. Yes, it is an explanation of her sex life, which is important, I believe, only because of the amount of kids she has. Maybe one kid we could see as a fluke, but five, that's quite a bit of sex to be having when you are trans, almost, and I hate saying that. But trans sex is very, very complicated because of body dysphoria, which I'm trying to be better at explaining terms a little bit more. That's basically just the feeling stated at the beginning of the book in the first page. I was 3 or perhaps 4 years old when I realized that I had been born in the wrong body. It's that feeling of not really owning your body, kind of being outside of it. Kind of relates to dissociation a little bit. So back to my main point, which is I believe seeing women as a score, seeing sex with women as a score, which equals masculinity and manhood, meaning that Jan Morris is a woman because she doesn't view it that way. She states in the chapter that, quote, "Intercourse seemed to me a tool, a reproductive device, and at the same time, in its symbolical fusions of bodies, a kind of pledge or surrender, not to be lightly given, still less thrown away in masquerade." So I think what that means up front is just that intercourse was a tool, a reproductive device to get children, 5 of them. Another thing I noticed, and this is a little bit of a leap for me, again, I haven't done a close reading in a while, so I did just want to mention this. I'm new to kind of picking out words, but I noticed man being used over and over again. And of course it is throughout the book because it's a book about gender, but specifically here, used purposefully, intentionally. And so I want to kind of show to you all, trying to get it in the frame. So it's a short chapter, so I can kind of go through my notes for you. We see it here, a little bit. And then within the middle of the chapter, we see it truly grow. And then, by the end of the chapter, we see it only once. And I believe that it vanishes purposefully. We can see Jan Morris ask the question, and again, I will direct us to, "In the meantime, you are doubtless wondering, especially if you are male, what about sex?" Sex, to Jan Morris, we can see throughout the use of maleness and throughout the quote and title of the chapter, zero, means that if you don't enjoy sex as a conquest and you don't see it as something to keep score about, you are not a man. And as she explains those things, the use of men in every type of connotation, what I circled was male, man, men, gentlemen, those were all different variations, disappears. Because once we understand what she's saying is that she isn't one, she doesn't view sex as a commodity in those ways, it vanishes. It, in a way, becomes zero, just like her manhood. And that's kind of what I believe and what I think about Jan Morris's chapter 0, chapter 6. Thank you guys.